Hi everybody, it's Mrs. Peachy from Summer School Biology, and today we are going to be talking a little bit about the ideal size of a cell. We looked at cell diffusion, osmosis, and active transport last week, and so what I want to look at right now is why cells are the size that they are. Why isn't it that we have, gigantic cells? Wouldn't that make more sense? So let's look a little bit at an analogy, and hopefully that will help. Remember that cell diffusion, osmosis, and active transport, the whole purpose of them is to be able to get material into the cell that the cell needs, like nutrients and oxygen and stuff like that, and to remove the bad stuff from the cell doesn't need, like carbon dioxide and other waste products, or even the stuff the cell is manufacturing to be able to get it into the bloodstream so that it can, find its destination, whether that be, a hormone that's looking for a receptor on the pancreas, for example. So I'm going to draw your attention to my tabletop. So let me go ahead and just kind of point the camera down here. I'm going to give you a larger image. And we're going to do a little bit of flip-flopping around here. So, one more time. All right, perfect. All right, so I'm going to zoom in a little bit on my screen, and hopefully I will also be able to make this just a little bit clearer for you. There we go. One more time. There we go. All right, so here's the analogy. I want you to imagine that I'm designing a building, and I'm a much better architect than this picture illustrates, but my whole purpose of this building is to make it as easy to get in and out of as possible in case there's a fire, an emergency, or something like that. And I have a certain square footage that are a certain size it needs to be. Okay? So designing this building, my first design is a long, short building, so it's single story. And the dimensions are, I'd say 20. I have centimeters because that's what the ruler said, so we're just going to go with it. Maybe it's a building for little tiny people or fleas or something like that. Or we can just imagine that it says 20, meters or whatever. So this side here, the long side, is 20. The height is 3 centimeters, and the depth or the width here is 2 centimeters, okay? So to measure the volume, and remember, volume is the space inside of something. So we're looking at something that is three-dimensional, and it has all this empty space inside, just like my Propel bottle does here. So to measure that volume in a rectangular solid, we just use a simple formula of length times width times height. When I do that, when I measure that up, I come up with 120 cubic centimeters, which is the volume. Okay? Hopefully you are all in agreement so far that that makes sense. So my second design is more of a square building. Okay, and let's see. In this square building, I'm going to make it a 2-story building rather than a single-story building. My dimensions are a little bit different. So the height of this building is 6 centimeters. The width of this building is 5 centimeters, and the depth of the building is 4 centimeters. So 6 times 5 is 30. Times 4 is 120, okay? So hopefully we are in agreement that this building has the same volume as this building does, same volume. So the other part that we're interested in is not just the volume, but what's called the surface area. And while volume is all the space inside of the bottle, the surface area is all of this surface outside the bottle. Area of a three-dimensional object is all of it, so you got to take into consideration all sides. So remember, these guys are rectangular solids, so they have 6 sides, just like any kind of cubic structure will have 6 sides. So when I look at the surface area of my long, flat building, it comes up to, and I have some calculations here, maybe. Oh, here we go. Comes up to, okay, we have three of our, excuse me, let's try that one more time. We have a 20 by 3, remember? So, okay, so 20 centimeters by 3 is the height. So that's 60. And 4 of our sides are like that. So that gives me a total of 240 square centimeters. We also have the 2 ends here that are 2 by 3. 2 by 3 is 6. And there's 2 of them, so that makes 12 square centimeters. So that gives me a total surface area of 252 square centimeters. Now with the cubic building, we have 4 sides that are 6 by 5. That gives us 30 times 4, 120. And then we also have the top and bottom, which are 4 by 5. 4 by 5 is 20, and we got 2 of them, so that gives us 40. That gives us a surface area of 160 square centimeters. So clearly, there is a smaller surface area in this guy. Now, just using your common sense, you might say, if the whole goal is for us to provide a building that you can get out of as quickly as possible, you're going to want to go with this long, skinny guy because there's way more surface area to find an exit. Okay, assuming we build doors, you know, all along the building, right? We can do that here too. But at the same time, there are more doors on this long, skinny building than there could ever be in the short, fat building. And you can't fly out of the second window. That's not safe for anyone. Even if you could, you still wouldn't be able to get as many doors. So let's look at something we call surface area to volume ratio. So surface area to volume ratio, top number of surface area divided by the volume. Okay? Our long rectangular building had a surface area of 252, this is square centimeters, but these labels will cancel. Well, kind of-ish. And the bottom number is volume, so 120 cubic centimeters. So if you divide that up, it gives us a 2.1 to 1 ratio. So 2.1 on top, 1 on the bottom. So our ratio, you always want to have this number as 1. So divide it out completely, use your calculator, and whatever the number you come up with on the calculator, then you say it's that number to 1. Okay? Big number goes on top for surface area to volume if the surface area is larger than the volume. Because it is possible that the surface area could be lower than the volume. Just make sure you're using the correct order there. For the cubic building, our surface area was 160 square centimeters, and our volume was 120 cubic centimeters, so our surface area is 1.3. Surface area to volume ratio is 1.3 to 1. According to cell theory, the greater surface area to volume ratio, the more efficient that cell is. So this number needs to be as big as possible when we're looking at a cell. This number right here, the front one. Okay, that makes a better cell. Large surface area to volume. That means that stuff can more efficiently get in and out of the cell. And now let's look at another example. I'm going to point the camera up for this one, move it a little bit, flip things upside down so you don't have to look at just my upside down face, maybe, hopefully. All right. For some reason, everything seems to go dark whenever I do this, and I'm not sure why, but I apologize for that, but glitch. I really don't want you just looking at my Okay. Oh, I'm all zoomed in. Zoom out, zoom out, zoom out. I was like, what's going on here? All right, perfect. But I'm in the dark, so don't know why that is. So here I have 2 cylinders. And they're made of clear for a reason. And you can believe me when I tell you that these 2 have the same volume. I actually cut these apart and used paper to measure them. And if I lay them out on top of each other, and I'll show you this in a sec. You can see these are my old note sheets from when I taught in the traditional bricks and mortar classroom, because back in the old days of overhead projectors. My second one, right? They're exactly the same size. Okay. One of them I rolled up lengthways. And no, I'm not overlapping. I'm just going to barely overlap it in order to be able to tape it, which I will do again now for your benefit. Okay. Okay. So here's my 1 cylinder. My light came back a little bit better. And here is my 2nd cylinder, which I'm going to roll the fat way. Now I could do some calculations, but the easiest thing for me to do is show you. Think of this as cells, and I'm trying to feed the cell. I got to get food to all parts of the cell, okay? I got to get food to all parts of the cell. Let me bring this down. Bring it over. Okay. These blocks are going to represent food. So here I'm going to go ahead and fill my cell up with food. That's so tasty, says the cell. Thank you for feeding me. And I'm getting this block so that all parts of the cell get fed. Might be easier when I hold the paper up behind it in a moment. Okay. Doing our best, filling up the cell. Yum, 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 he's eating. Okay, I want to get it pretty full. I want to make sure that it's jammed in there as well as it can. I know there's spaces, it's blocks, it's not perfect. Okay. So hopefully you can agree with me that that cell is full. Yum, 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 yum. So since these have the same volume, you would expect probably this one to also be full, right? But unfortunately, this is the fancy way. I'm going to put this over top and kind of let this one out slowly. Oopsie, shake it up, shake it up. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Despite the fact that they have the same volume, this cell does not fill up as easily. So it's going to require more nutrients. It's going to be harder to get the waste products out of it because it has a lower surface area to volume ratio. This is your squarer house, and the other one would have been your long house, right? Same principle, slightly different demonstration, but bottom line, is that the higher surface area to volume ratio, the more efficient your cell.